Yes, my name's Ashley Swisher. I am one of the talent acquisition specialists at Ubisoft. And today I'll be speaking a little bit to navigating the workforce, specifically from the perspective of women in gaming. One of my coworkers, Melly, I believe was gonna try and join. So if she's on the call, we'll go ahead and say hello to her. But if not, all good. I'm happy to speak on behalf of our team. So to take it away, in summary, I'm going to be speaking to you about three general sections. Who is Ubisoft and who am I? What are we looking for in candidates, as well as the digital job market, which of course has changed very dramatically in the last few months since everything has gone to online, no career fairs or networking events in person at the moment. And in the next about 30 minutes, I want to try and cover as much as possible to provide you with insights, but also knowing that there's a lot that we can cover. So I'll encourage you to ask questions at the end, as well as have a few questions that had been submitted to Shivali prior to the presentation today. And if there are other topics you want us to dive deeper into later on, definitely encourage you to let the Girl Genius team know, because I'd be more than happy to have other presentations. So without further ado, who we are. So I am Ashley Swisher, Talent Acquisition Specialist for the business team at Ubisoft. And so the business team consists of all the roles that support the successful sales and operation of the games that are created by our studios, but don't directly develop the games themselves. So those teams could include finance, data analysis, marketing, graphic design, community development, on to many others as well. And then the studio is the teams that actually are in the game development. So our creative team, that is our game developers, our scenic design, all of the roles that actually create the game itself. And I am based in San Francisco, California, where we have both a business team, which is overseeing all of the business functions for North and Central America, and then as well as a small studio of about 100 employees, but we have studios all over the world. And so Ubisoft's goal and mission is that we are a creator of worlds and committed to enriching players' lives with original and memorable gaming experiences. And so you'll notice that we definitely reiterate the ability to create community and our ways that we are able to bring people together from a broad range of backgrounds, and that also comes with a broad range of games that we offer. So a quick example of some of our titles that you might recognize. On this slide, you'll see we have some that are a bit more of the like fun, casual, colorful games like Mario Rabbids, Just Dance, Rayman, which is one of our original games that helped to create Ubisoft, as well as some that are very different in the feel and look of them, like some of our first-person shooter games like Ghost Recon or The Division, and one of our most famous titles being Assassin's Creed, which has a new game coming out at the end of this year.
Actually, this is Millie. I could do the next slide. Sorry for popping in a little late here.
Oh, you're all good. Hello, Melly. I can say, go ahead and tell us who you are.
Hi, sorry everyone. Just full transparency, had a total panic attack because my internet's not working right now. And now I'm doing this on my phone. So hello, my name is Melly Medina. I am the HR business partner for the development studio at Ubisoft San Francisco, joined today by Ashley, who's obviously gotten us started. My job is to be a conduit from the development team, which is my client group in San Francisco, to the HR team that often comes in the form of coaching and mentorship and living life on the fly like today.
Well done.
So this next slide here, everyone can see how many offices we have at Ubisoft. So we have about 40 different offices in 20 different countries, roughly 17,000 plus talented employees worldwide. On this slide, you can see that our studios, indicated by red with white text, are the places where we strictly develop. So our biggest office for that would be Montreal in Canada. To just kind of compare and contrast that office to San Francisco, Montreal has about 5,000 employees. Nearly all are in development. Whereas San Francisco, we have 500 employees and only about 100 of those folks are in development. The studio plus business office, like San Francisco is, would be the red and kind of gold color you can see there. So it's a good mix of marketing, legal, general operations, and development. And then that middle strictly tan one, that's going to be only business. So that's where we see those non-development teams exclusively.
And so the next logical question, of course, would be, but how do I get there? How do I get to work at Ubisoft or work anywhere for that matter? And so now I'll transition into part two. What is it that we look for as recruiters, speaking from my own personal experience, of course, when we are reviewing candidates, particularly those that are at a more junior level, like I think most of the participants on the call today. So a few of the things that we focus on when screening candidates at junior level are their demonstration of skills, usually showcased through your resume or a skills test. Logistical alignment, this would be more of just, does this role fit what you're looking for and vice versa, and growth potential. At a junior level, of course, we want the people joining our team to be looking to grow with our company, and we want to see how we can help to develop you and add to the skills that you're looking to have added to your repertoire. So demonstration of skills would be those things like hard and soft skills. Hard skills, an easy example is like a coding language. If we're looking for a specific coding language that somebody is able to work in. And then soft skills like collaboration, teamwork, creativity, motivation, that will make someone successful in the role we are filling. And these can be from previous jobs, but it can also be self-taught or coming from other life experiences. Logistical alignment is next and very important because these are the things that typically are more of a non-negotiable. If we're hiring for San Francisco, typically we are looking for somebody who will be able to be based in San Francisco. So like location is important. Compensation expectations, of course, we want to make sure that what we're able to pay for the role is aligned with what you're looking for. Visa requirements, this is another that, especially in the current environment, continues to get more and more complex. So is this a role that we'd be able to sponsor a visa for? And the timeline of starting a new position. So if it's like an internship and we're looking for somebody for immediate hire or a full-time role, but maybe you're not looking for something until the summer, till this upcoming summer, and that wouldn't be the best fit. And then lastly, of course, growth potential. We want to make sure that we can develop you in a way that will benefit your long-term goals, and the role will align with that, as well as what you could bring to our team to build out our talent pipeline for the future. As that long-term talent pipeline is typically the goal of internships and junior level or entry level positions. And a little fun fact here, on average, a recruiter will look at your resume for about 7 seconds. So keeping it simple and tailored to your skills that are most relevant to a role is really important when you're thinking about these things that I'm looking for in a quick glance over your information. And I realize that that can be sometimes viewed as a little discouraging, but there are definitely ways that you can make yourself stand out. So that way you are the person that catches a recruiter's eye when they're reviewing your resume.
Ashley, I'm gonna stop you for just a second. I know we have a bunch of question submissions already. There's already some great questions showing up in chat, which I'm trying to read off my phone. So one of the questions are, can you tell us about internships? And if you're not sure on the business side, I can definitely talk about internships on the dev side.
Absolutely. So we do offer internships on both the development and business side. We, of course, this summer had a little bit of an unexpected pivot from what we had planned for our summer internships, but still host interns typically year round. We do naturally have more that have focused on the summer, and this summer have been really trying to see which roles are conducive to having virtual internships, which we do have a few of right now in roles such as, let's see, PR, sales, brand, and then I know some on the studio side. Melly, I was gonna say, if you want to speak to some of the internships that you've seen we've hosted.
Yeah, so last year, the development studio had its very first formal internship program. It was primarily for tech, art, and engineering. We were looking at people who were in the college level range. I see in the chat that there's a question, what exactly is the age education range for the junior level? So for juniors and interns, we typically see like seniors in college, recent grads, it's roughly that range. As of today, I can't think of an instance where we've had a formal high school focused internship. That doesn't mean it wouldn't exist. We just haven't done it yet in San Francisco. We're a fairly small team. And then another question here in chat I'm reading, this will be the last one I answer, so Ashley can continue. What coding languages are you looking for? Typically for AAA development, we're looking for C++. That'll be different if you're interested in mobile. Ashley, I don't know if you can speak more to that piece.
Definitely, yes. In my roles, we don't typically have a lot in the form of coding languages, just because we're not on the like heavy technical game development. But as far as some of the skills, or I guess like softwares that we're typically focusing on for like data analysis or some of our others, a lot of those would be focused around like SQL is some that we've looked for, and even just some of the more basic like working in data analysis in Excel, and Tableau is a big one for us also for presenting data. Were there any other questions? I was gonna say, did I answer what you were asking, Melly, or what was the kind of focus of everyone's questions?
I think that's good for now. There are lots of questions coming in, but let's, if they're relevant, I'll kind of pause, but maybe we can wait until the end too.
Totally, I was gonna say, feel free to jump in if there's good ones. I'll try and keep an eye on it as well. But yeah, so some of the questions that are probably what some people are asking also are ones that had been submitted ahead of time. So here are a few of the questions that we had seen people asking about and wanting to know more of. So first and foremost, how much impact does a college name have on a resume? What's the most common reason someone is not contacted for an interview? And what should I put on my resume if I haven't had internships? So firstly, speaking to how much impact does a college name have on a resume, for me personally, it doesn't have a huge impact. That's something that is different company to company and recruiter to recruiter, but I think that people can come from a really diverse range of backgrounds and a diverse range of colleges and still be a wonderful addition to the team. We don't restrict which colleges we hire from to be, only from, insert college name here from UC Berkeley and Stanford. We look at all colleges, both locally. We have some partnerships with some of our local 2-year and 4-year programs, as well as around the country for those roles that are of course based in the US, and then that would be different from for our international opportunities also. But that's not to say, some companies of course do kind of restrict their search to certain colleges. But I do see that a lot of companies are moving away from that because it is very competitive for companies to hire qualified talent. So companies have really broadened their horizons. And this has also been a push because there is more and more energy and excitement behind hiring diverse candidates, which I think is a great thing and is of course very relevant to the Girl Genius as an organization. And so looking at a wider range of schools also presents a more diverse and broad background of the candidates that you'll be able to meet with and hopefully hire. So what is the most common reason someone is not contacted for an interview? I think the 2 main reasons that I'll typically see is that of course, sometimes it's just that the candidate doesn't align with the specific qualifications that are a must-have for that role. So some of our roles, especially at the more senior level, like we're really looking for a gaming background. We want somebody who has worked in gaming before. And so that could be something that might be like an easy screening criteria, or like I gave as an example before, a certain type of work experience or a certain coding language. And then secondly to that, so of course, I mean, sometimes it truly is just the skills that we need for the role aren't clearly demonstrated on somebody's resume. And so we wouldn't have contacted them for an interview. But also it is sometimes that maybe a candidate is qualified, but it might be that we had a very large number of applicants, especially for internships and junior level roles. It tends to be fairly high volume. So sometimes in like the hundreds of applicants. So it may be the case that the recruiter or hiring managers have already received a qualified batch of candidates by the time that you apply. And they just wouldn't have the ability to review every applicant once the initial group has been identified and starts going through the interview process. So I know this can sound discouraging as well, but there are various ways that you can better your chances of having your resume reviewed and giving you that chance to really demonstrate how great you are in an interview. And I'll be speaking to that in some upcoming slides about how you can reach out directly to a company and to recruiters.
Actually, we got a great question.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what's a resume or a portfolio that you've seen that's really amazed you?
Oh, I love that question. So of course it depends on the type of role, but I'm always really impressed when a resume or like a website or portfolio of work, especially in creative fields like graphic design, where you would have like a work sample, really showcases a applicant's personality. I think especially in the entertainment world like Ubisoft, there is a lot of creativity and a lot of personality, and that is something that we want you to showcase. It's not, we're entertainment, so we want it to be fun and kind of showing who you are. But of course, you don't want it to be too distracting from the content. But I think that those are usually the things that jump out at me. When I'm reading the cover letters for copywriters, a copywriter is somebody who is writing the text of maybe like an ad campaign. And so a big part of it is being able to convey a tone and a mood through written word. And that is really what is when you're going through maybe a copywriter's application and cover letter. And that's been something that I've been really impressed by. So I think really showing how your personality can shine makes it quite a bit more memorable than just a list of your skills. And I also saw a question about, for business internships, is a gaming background required? No, it is not. I'd say for a lot of our business roles, even beyond internships, it's not required. And I am not sure as much about the studio, but I'd say for internships as well, the more junior the role is, the less of an expectation that we would have that there is that you come from a gaming background. But it would be important, especially if you're passionate about gaming, I encourage you to put that in your cover letter, because that will help us to know that this is something you're really passionate about, not just one of hundreds of applications that you might have submitted, but you really are excited about working with Ubisoft for specific reasons. And that actually leads nicely to the next question, that is, what should I put on my resume if I haven't had internships? This is one that I love because I come from a background in hospitality, so I've done a lot of hiring for people who are getting their first jobs, even if that job isn't directly related to their long-term goals or course of study. So that's what I'd encourage you to put on your resume. If you've had jobs that are unrelated, if that's working in Starbucks, working at In-N-Out Burger, those are still a good way to demonstrate that you are reliable, that you have been able to be a hard worker and a team player, and that you have been successful in their training, especially for big companies like a Starbucks or an In-N-Out that have very formalized training programs. Those are things that have a reputation that speak for themselves, even if it has very little to do with wanting to join us as a game developer. And if you haven't had any work yet, I'd also say volunteer work is a really good way where you can show what skills you've been able to build in less formalized roles as well. So if you volunteer with an organization, there are actually a lot of ways that you can build those skills, even if you weren't being paid for that work as well. So to keep us moving along, I can say, and keep us on time, I'm going to keep going forward to the digital job search and a few more questions that people had about approaching recruiters in the digital sphere. So how can I approach recruiters on webinar? So this is a really easy example today that, of course, there's lots of people in the chat, so it might be a little bit hard to reach out or make an impression when there is a lot of people who all have lots of questions. But if it's a smaller group, maybe less than 10 people, it would be more likely that you would have an opportunity to speak up during a call, ask a question, and show that you are digesting the content that they're sharing. And I definitely encourage you to do so. If it's a larger call or you're not comfortable asking a question or there's not a good time to do so, I'd encourage you to reach out either via LinkedIn with a connection and a message explaining that you were on the webinar and sending them a direct email if they shared their contact information for that purpose. I should say, and or sending an email with a specific question to follow up, and as a good entry to say, I really appreciated your conversation, and then going into your specific question, especially if, like I know right now, there's lots of questions on the chat. If we aren't able to get to them all, that way you can follow up and hopefully build that connection with the recruiter. And then how can I best market myself on LinkedIn, especially now that I've encouraged you to reach out via LinkedIn? What's the best way to do that? So I'll go through that quickly in the next 2 slides, but I also want to make sure that I keep everyone on time. So Shivali, definitely let me know. I don't know if there's another presenter right after us. So for virtual networking, profile basics of LinkedIn is to make sure that you have a picture of yourself, an accurate job title, volunteer work, and education listed out, descriptions of your current roles, skills, and responsibilities. So that's where you can list out a lot of the those skills, like I mentioned, that you'd really want to highlight for a recruiter to be able to see. And description, and then following your school, organizations, and industry pages, so you can keep up to date of the different important info going on in your industry. And I saw a great question that is, should you do it in bullet point format or in words, like in sentence format? I'm somebody who has been told that it should be in sentence format, but I've also seen plenty of people with really good examples of it being in bullet point format. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, but I know that it can kind of go either way. So I don't think there's a firm right answer. And then updating your cover photo, as well as editing your personal summary. That's a place that you can put a little paragraph about yourself to describe maybe your long-term goals, what you're looking for, where you're going to school, etc. And then how to use your LinkedIn. So connect with guest speakers, webinar hosts, or professors to keep track of your network. So that way, maybe down the road, if they have an opportunity that would be a great chance for you, you can reach out and circle back from when you first met them. Like and share industry articles, maybe your schoolwork that you're proud of, or content from companies that you respect. Rewriting your headline. So the headline is the one line of information that comes with your name when a recruiter hasn't clicked on your profile yet. It just comes up in a search query. So they're able to see maybe a line about who you are. And descriptions of your previous positions, maybe a simplified version of your resume, and then following different classmates and endorsing one another. So just to keep us on track, I'm going to keep chugging along, but I see some awesome questions, so I don't want to take up too much time from the next presenter. So in summary, there are many things that you can do to help yourself succeed in navigating the job and internship market. But most importantly, the thing that I really want to try and highlight is that recruiters want you to succeed. They, really are people too, and we got into this field of work because we love people. We really do want to make sure that you're able to have an awesome career. And although it can be intimidating, the most important thing you can remember is that recruiters want you to succeed. We can help and usually are happy to share our knowledge when we have the time to do so. And that is a great alternative when a company may not be hiring for an internship or job at the moment. But you can build that rapport a bit easier than asking for general advice. The recruiter knows what kind of information you're looking for and is able to effectively answer your question in a reasonable amount of time, rather than just a broad, hey, I'm looking for career advice. So overall, I want to thank you so much for giving me your time and attention for the last 30 minutes. And I'm more than happy to, like I said, be a connection, be a resource, continue to answer your questions. I'm not sure what the best way to do that will be, Shivali, if you have any recommendations, but all of the wonderful questions, I'm sure there's probably some summary that I could give to group some of the questions together. I know that LinkedIn had a lot of questions, and how to use it best. And this is definitely an area that I feel like if I can toot my own horn, I definitely feel like I'm a LinkedIn expert and would love to connect with all of you. I'm sure I'll probably have a lot of LinkedIn requests when I log off today. But thank you to all so much. And as I say, I'll shout out to Melly also.
Hello, thank you so much. And I mentioned in the chat, just like Ashley said, please add us on your LinkedIn to ask any follow-up questions. We'll be expecting to hear from a lot of you.
Yes, I'm sure we'll probably have about 500 messages to take a look at, but I'm happy to do so. And if there is an appetite for it, Shivali, I'll definitely say I'm happy to have another talk if there's specific topics. You can look me up on LinkedIn by my full name, Ashley Swisher, and then, of course, Ubisoft. I'm a talent acquisition specialist. There's a nice picture of me in front of some leaves. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my slides now so that I can pass it back to the next presenter.
Thank you all so much.